You go first.
Right? All right, let me put this. Thank you, sir. You ready to rock and roll? Okay. Great. Well, good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to welcome you all to the Dublin CHP office. And we're welcome and very happy to have the governor here to talk about some very important subjects. So first, on behalf of the California Highway Patrol, I would like to thank Governor Newsom for his leadership and his dedication to public service. I just really can't thank him enough for all he's done. I would also like to extend my appreciation to everyone behind me, all of our public safety partners. We all share a common goal of enhancing the safety of the communities we serve, and the partnerships you see here today, they represent a commitment to this effort. The CHP's Organized Retail Crime Task Force works collaboratively with our law enforcement allied agency partners, the district attorneys, the DOJ, and retailers to deliver investigative support with the aim of reducing retail crimes in California. The main goal of the task force is to enhance and improve our response to retail crime throughout California and to make California safe in the process. Since the last press conference we had in Long Beach, where we first spoke about the CHP's role in retail crime, we've been busy. Since that time, the CHP has collaborated with our law enforcement agency partners throughout the state, and we've been involved in over 800 investigations. We've been involved in over 300 arrests, and we've also recovered in excess of $19 million worth of stolen merchandise. This is very important. It's something that we're very excited about. But I'm also excited about what we're going to be able to do as a result of some of the things that you're going to hear the governor talk about today that's going to allow us to expand our role with regard to retail theft. Because right now, when I first spoke to you, we were only involved in 3 different areas. We were in the Los Angeles area, we were over in the San Diego area, and we were in the Bay Area. This now, thanks to the governor and his support, we're going to be able to expand our role and be able to support our law enforcement partners, and also in the Central Valley area and also in the Sacramento greater area. So being able to expand our role and to be able to support our partners is really going to go a long ways towards us being able to provide what we do best, which is providing the highest level of safety, service, and security to the people of California. So before I introduce the next speaker, one of the things I just like to make sure that I remind the community that if you know about anything that has to do with retail theft, or if you see this action happening, please do not try to intervene. Call 911. We also still have our website that is up, and you can reach us at www.chp.ca.gov to be able to report anything that you may have seen, witnessed, or heard about. But please, again, do not try to intervene yourself, because your safety is paramount to us. I also would like to thank the media that's here today, because you play a very critical and important role in the public safety message and getting this information out so that the public knows what our efforts are in this regard. And also, before I also leave, I also just want to thank again the governor for his role in this and for his support and commitment to this very important topic. So now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Alameda County District Attorney Nancy O'Malley.
Thank you, Commissioner. I want to add in my thanks to Governor Newsom for giving the really necessary attention always to public safety, but particularly in this area of retail theft that has really gone amok in our communities. In my office, we have prosecuted these crimes. They're multi-jurisdictional, and they're oftentimes intelligence-driven and intelligence sharing. So the funding that the governor will announce will allow us to build stronger relationships and networks of law enforcement so that we can solve these crimes. That's a critical part to what this initiative is about, not only solving the crimes, but also prosecuting those offenders who are terrorizing our communities in the way that we've seen recently. These recent acts of retail theft and robberies and mass mob burglaries throughout Northern California can no longer be tolerated. They're clearly orchestrated crimes. The groups work together in large groups to create a mentality of fear in people that are being impacted by it. The brash acts are instilling fear in the merchants, in our business owners, and in the customers in our wider community, especially at a time now when people are out enjoying the holiday season, they're shopping, and we need to assure our community, and we do assure our community, that we are taking these crimes very seriously. We are prosecuting the people as we apprehend them, and we're holding them accountable for the crimes that they're committing. To the public, I urge you, and I just really want to assure you that those who are caught and arrested will be prosecuted and are being prosecuted by my office and by other district attorney offices throughout the state, as well as through the Attorney General's office and his leadership in this area. We've joined forces with other district attorneys' offices, and I will say that a new initiative to address this is to create the working group that meets weekly, maybe daily, to be able to share the intelligence from all of the different communities and law agencies so that we can make sure that we're taking every step we can to identify the people who are involved in this, especially to identify the leaders who are involved in this, and then to bring them to justice in the courtroom. So once again, I really want to thank Governor Newsom for dedicating more resources for the stronger law enforcement presence throughout our state. They're critical to our ability to prosecute these cases, and also for giving us prosecutors more authority to go after retail thefts, especially those retail thefts that are very clearly orchestrated and bring in a sort of a mob mentality when they go into stores in mass and just grab things and run out. So I thank you very, very much, Governor Newsom. It's my pleasure now to introduce our senator from this area, and that is Senator Steve Glazer. He's been himself an activist, not just as a senator, but for many years before that, working in the political and legal arena. And again, it's my pleasure to introduce our Senator Steve Glazer.
Thank you, District Attorney O'Malley. It's been a great pleasure to work with you all these years, and we're going to miss you. I want to join in welcoming Governor Newsom and the Attorney General to my Senate district. We so appreciate you being here. You're going to announce in a few minutes a very comprehensive public safety package, and I really look forward to working with you and helping make that happen this year. So thank you for your leadership and the leadership of the Attorney General in this important space. We need more resources, but we also need clear accountability for those who break our laws. And we have plenty of laws in place to ensure that they are accountable. And the district attorney here and across the state, I know that there is a greater motivation to making sure that that accountability is in place. It's my pleasure now to introduce our Attorney General. He has left the quiet backwater of the legislature to take on a more important and position in our state with great energy and with great compassion. It's my pleasure to introduce Attorney General Bonta.
Well, good morning, everyone. Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. Thank you, Senator Glazer, for your very kind introduction. I also just want to say how important it is and how proud I am to be standing side by side with so many great leaders committed to the same common goal and prioritization of public safety throughout the state of California, making sure all of our communities and neighborhoods and California families are safe. And I'm talking about the ones that are present here, but also some who are not present today but have been doing important work to keep us safe throughout the state. So I want to give a special shout out to two of my recently former colleagues who have been leading in the public safety arena for some time now, the chair of the Assembly Public Safety Committee, Reggie Jones Sawyer, as well as Senator Nancy Skinner, who does the same important work on the Senate side. And let me thank the governor for his leadership, for bringing us together, for the comprehensive proposal he is about to share more about. Leadership of that type is so important right now, and the governor is stepping up as he always does. And, you know, I've traveled across the state as Attorney General. I've had that honor to rural, to urban, to coastal, and inland communities. And I have to tell you, I have yet to meet a single Californian who does not want to be protected from crime. I have not met anyone who wants to be a victim of crime. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. Every community, every family wants to feel safe and wants to be safe. It's fundamental. It's foundational. It's universal. So public safety, it's job number one. And the governor is stepping up and implementing a real public safety plan here that you'll hear more about in a few moments. This plan is the real deal. It makes our communities safer. It provides real tools, real resources for the California Department of Justice that I have the honor of leading to continue to double down and deepen and strengthen our work when it comes to tackling organized retail theft and cracking down on other violent crimes, many involving firearms. I'm proud to be a partner in this fight as we open a new front in the battle against organized crime that we're seeing too much of today. The new resources and funding announced today, they're a game changer. The Real Public Safety Plan provides the DOJ with additional funding to bolster our existing efforts, taking down the perpetrators at the top of these crime rings and shutting down the pipeline of stolen merchandise, freezing out the illicit market and ensuring serious criminals face serious consequences. At the DOJ, protecting the public safety is our number one job and will always be. We're taking down human trafficking rings, dismantling gangs who riddle our neighborhoods with violence, defending our common sense gun laws, going after ghost gun manufacturers, and putting those who organize smash and grabs behind bars. After years of efforts to repair our justice system, overall crime rates are near historic lows in California, but recently we've seen in some places an unacceptable uptick in violent crime, serious crime linked to gun violence, and organized crime here and across the nation. Here in California, when we see a problem, we develop a solution. That's how we do it. That's what the Real Public Safety Plan is. So let me thank the governor once more for his leadership, for his partnership. Together, we're going to ensure our communities are safe, and that is key, that we work together, that we collaborate, that we cooperate, that we share intelligence, that we share resources, all for that common goal, our number one job of keeping our communities safe. It always has been, it always will be, and we're putting in the work now. So thank you, and it is now my pleasure to introduce the incredible governor of our great state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you. Thank you to the Attorney General. I want to thank the Mayor for being here, Mark Ghilarducci, the head of the Office of Emergency Services, who also is here in attendance. I want to thank the District Attorney for her incredible leadership and support and stewardship for many, many years. It goes back to my time as Mayor, partnerships when I was Lieutenant Governor, and now Governor. Honored to have you here. I want to thank our Commissioner of the California Highway Patrol for being here, of course, your state senator, and our Attorney General. We will avail ourselves to questions, which I imagine you have many of, but let me just promote the reason we are here by establishing a preview of sorts of the budget that I'll be submitting in January to the legislature. As many of you know, California continues to experience a remarkable budget surplus that affords us the opportunity to do things that in the past we've been unable to do. It also goes without saying, the issue of crime and violence is top of mind all throughout not only the state of California, but all across the United States. Highlighted recently by some high-profile retail theft operations, these organized retail gangs, these organized retail mobs that are not only increasing and heightening the anxiety that people are feeling, but more importantly, are expressing themselves in a way that has a profound impact on our feelings of safety here in this state, this region, and, as I note, across this country. In an effort to address these issues, the state of California has not been passive. In fact, some of you may be familiar, some of you not, The commissioner referenced this, that last July, we were with the big 13 mayors, the largest 13 cities in the state of California, 13 mayors present. There are 13 police chiefs. We organized a meeting specifically around retail theft. We extended a bill in the legislature with Senator Glazer's strong support and advocacy. We budgeted more money in this space to address what we started to see in terms of an increase of organized retail theft. And we announced the establishment and extension of that task force in July in Long Beach, California. That effort, as the commissioner noted, has led to many arrests, prosecution, and the recovery of close to $20 million of goods. We recognize that's not enough. We recognize this moment requires us to do more and to broaden and deepen our efforts throughout the state of California. In an effort to do just that, we are announcing today a package of support and dollars and resources that we believe will go a long way to address specifically the activity that we're seeing that is organized across jurisdictions throughout the state of California. That includes, by the way, efforts, which I'll highlight, around transnational activity that is also part of our efforts in terms of highlighting and mitigating those activities. So, number one, we are putting out over $250 million in enforcement grants, competitive enforcement grants, to help local law enforcement advance their efforts to investigate and to arrest and help us aid and advance the prosecution of people that are involved in organized retail theft. Those competitive grants will go out after the support of the California legislature and their adjudication of the merits and demerits of this program, but we are unaware of any similar effort in the past the state has advanced to provide direct grants to aid local law enforcement in these efforts. We are also establishing with the Attorney General an investigation and prosecutorial team within his department. This team will be dedicated full-time to prosecuting and investigating retail theft in the state of California. It's the first team that's been established of its type in the DOJ in the state, and this is something that I know that is important, not only the Attorney General, but I know is important to our law enforcement leadership all across the state that is looking for the aid of the state, particularly as it relates to these jurisdictional issues. We are providing $20 million of grants for district attorneys, providing resources to DAs to help advance these efforts on the investigation and prosecution as well. So not only to local law enforcement, to DAs specifically, the establishment of a new team at the Department of Justice specifically focused on this. In addition to that, and forgive me, there's a number of components in this package. We'll provide those to you so you can get a more cogent summary. I just want to lay them out, not for sound bites, but for the comprehensive nature of what we're trying to advance. We're also providing $20 million specifically for border issues. I'm very concerned as a parent. I'm very concerned as a citizen of this state and someone that is highly in tune with what's going on with drugs in the United States, not just here in the state of California, but what's happening with fentanyl. And we have seen some success with our National Guard at the border, working in partnership to address the issue of these transnational activities and drug activities. And we want to establish more formally that unit and advance that unit as it relates to some of our interdiction efforts, specifically related to fentanyl at the southern border. We also are providing $20 million of grants for small businesses that are impacted by damage done, victims of these crimes. As a small business myself that has boarded up business in San Francisco, after the third time, you're done paying the deductible. Many small businesses can't afford the deductibles, can't afford that disruption. And so we're putting up this grant program. The state's never done that in the past, as acknowledgement of the resources that are needed to support these small businesses. We are also putting together the largest statewide gun buyback program in the nation, putting up $25 million to support local gun buyback programs. Now, I've been involved in these for many, many years as a county supervisor, as a mayor, and some could argue the merits and demerits, the efficacy of these programs. But I think they're important to at least highlight the issue of guns and gun violence and the proliferation of guns, illegal guns in the state of California. San Francisco had a successful one just a week or so ago. Often those programs have to be done through philanthropic means and support. They're not supported by general fund, and we want to work to help support those local efforts, match those grants and those dollars for those gun buyback programs. And so that's also part of this package. As you know, we are moving forward. In fact, I just had the opportunity to review the first draft to go after those that manufacture, distribute, and sell illegal firearms, particularly assault weapons and ghost guns in the state of California, by moving forward with a right of action that allows an individual to receive for the successful prosecution not only attorney fees related to the prosecution of those that are illegally selling assault weapons and ghost guns, but also provide them $10,000. It's along the lines of what the Supreme Court apparently believes is the appropriate track and appropriate response to the Texas the Texas abortion law. And so we are modeling on the basis of the Supreme Court's own adjudication. We're modeling that law, and we are moving with that legislation to go after these guns. We're getting serious and much tougher in this space. So guns, drugs, prosecution, accountability across the spectrum, more support for local law enforcement up and down the state of California, and unprecedented support for evidence-based violence, anti-violence programs, diversion programs. You may recall last year we announced we took a budget of $9 million and increased it to $200 million for violence intervention programs. That is a 3-year commitment that was just approved by the legislature, and I want folks to know that the solution to all these problems is not just a law enforcement only approach, but we would be naive to suggest it excludes law enforcement. And so it's both and. And I want folks to know we're not walking back on our commitment in this state to advance comprehensive reforms. We're not walking back in this state to right the wrongs of the past. We're not walking back as it relates to the rules and regulations established by the voters and others that I believe are sound and right. I want folks to know that clearly. But we also have to recognize this moment we're in, and we have to recognize people's fears and anxieties. I can regale you with facts, and by the way, I have them since Prop 47 was passed. The last full year analysis shows that property and larceny crimes are down 11%. Since Prop 47 was passed, shoplifting down even further. I don't even want to give you that stat. You won't believe it. And that's the point. Stats mean nothing in terms of your feelings. And we know statistically those stats go through 2020. We've seen with the PPIC numbers that just came out, looking just at random 4 cities in the state, Oakland among them, that we have seen an increase now in property crimes. We've seen an increase in violent crimes, 7% and 5% respectively in the state of California. And so feelings, facts, we could debate these things. We could debate the fact that we are about average with Prop 47 in this country in terms of the felony threshold. That's something you don't hear on Fox News. We could debate the merits or demerits of the fact that Texas has a felony threshold of $2,500, and ours is just $950. That's something else you don't often see on the Tucker Clarkson show. Carlson. A lot of people taking advantage of the anxiety that we rightly are experiencing. And so I want to acknowledge that anxiety. I want to acknowledge that it's unacceptable what's happening. As we've said many, many occasions, this is not the first time we've been out on this topic. And I want to acknowledge all the incredible work that is being done and continues to be done in this space. And I'll end on that and very briefly do so. I'll give you an example of what the CHP has been up to. Just well, I guess it's a little over a week ago, Commissioner, you are December 9th, we organized in one of our operations, just one night, down in Los Angeles, 551 citations, 14 arrests, 7 DUIs, $360,000 of goods were brought back were taken off the streets. That was just one example of what the CHP continues to do. And now, by extending their reach to other parts of the state and deepening these efforts and extending the life of the Retail Theft Task Force and renaming it the Smash and Grab Task Force, which is more, I think, in line with what's really going on, I hope people will feel more confidence that the state is doing its part to help support local government and local agencies address this very, very serious issue of crime and retail theft here in the state of California. So that, forgive me, is my long-winded introduction of a preview of sorts of the budget that will be submitted in a few weeks to the California legislature. Again, grateful that everybody is here in attendance and working so hard on this, and of course here happy to take any questions that you may have.
Yes, Governor Newsom. So this is a question about your proposed law that mimics Texas's SB 8. Given that we've already seen, protections on assault weapons and starting to get there on ghost guns, what is the goal basically of this? Would this be to drive gun manufacturers out of business? And what impact would you say this law would have on something like, say, mass shootings?
Well, the law is the law. We want to enforce the law. We want to provide people the tools to enforce the law. And private right of action is now allowed by the U.S. Supreme Court. And that will allow more eyes and more, a greater prospect of people to be held to account for illegally, the laws are the laws, illegally distributing, manufacturing, or selling these weapons of war. And they're nothing less than that, just weapons of war. And so our goal is to address the issue of gun violence, which is significantly increased. Look at the stats. Montana is one of the highest homicide rates in the country. South Dakota. It's interesting, the murder capital, tragically, in California is Kern County. It's just not a red or blue issue. It's, this is a serious moment. And gun violence in this country is a very serious issue. And so we're very soberly and seriously not only drafting that legislation, as I said, first draft, but we're working with the legislature to advance it and put it into effect.
And just one more question. What do you make of concerns that similar laws could be used against other disfavored rights in red states, and that this kind of law is sort of a Pandora's box that we're opening?
Well, I think Justice Roberts was absolutely right. It is a Pandora's box. And I think California's exercising this approach is proof of that. And so what I make of it is what I expressed initially when this law was established in Texas. I think it was a terrible decision by the United States Supreme Court, and this decision has been made, and to the extent this decision's used to put women's lives at risk, we're going to use this decision to save people's lives by addressing the issue of gun violence here in the state of California.
Hi, Governor Newsom. This is Leslie Brinkley with ABC 7 News. Earlier this week, the City of Oakland, the mayor, asked for as much CHP presence and traffic enforcement as possible in Oakland with their escalating violence and their robberies. They're asking for license plate readers and vehicle recognition cameras. What are your plans, or how would you respond to Oakland? As of yet, they haven't heard back as to what extra help they can expect.
Well, they
from
have,
CHP.
and I appreciate the question. So in August, last August, a number of months ago, we increased CHP presence in Oakland. So we actually have picked up the call and advanced that support. There was a letter a couple days ago around cameras, and we've already committed to work with the legislature to look at the prospect of expanding that program around entrances and exits, and we've made that clear to leadership in Oakland.
Hey, Governor, Jeremy White with Politico. I also have a question about the gun bounty law. Clearly, you're testing the legal theory that the Supreme Court validated by upholding Texas's law. So if this bill you're proposing is indeed passed and you sign it into law, is it your expectation and indeed your goal that there's a legal challenge that will then test this theory for a different type of legislation and perhaps put this matter before the Supreme Court again?
Well, it was tested, and the Supreme Court adjudicated in its favor. Now, to the extent it's tested again, I imagine if the law is written as it's intended to mirror the key components of the Texas law, then we should expect a similar outcome. Again, I think it was a terrible decision. I've never supported that law. We've been consistent about that, and many of us here have been very vocal about that law. But again, if a law is going to be used to put women's lives at risk, we will use that law to protect people's lives. And we're serious about it. And to the extent the Supreme Court wants to reflect on its own process and its own decision-making, I would encourage them to do that. I'm very worried about this court. I'm very worried about the direction of this country. And right now, I'm very worried about escalating increase in violent crime all across this country, particularly gun-related crime. And we believe this approach could help save lives in the state of California.
Governor, Phil Matier, ABC 7 and KCBS. A number of elected officials and law enforcement people have said that police, arrests, enforcement is good, but it only works if there are consequences, if there are follow-ups. You said that you don't want to step back or roll back or walk back the judicial and reforms that have been made in recent years, and yet you also are keenly aware of the way people are feeling. So what do you tell the people going forward in terms of consequences?
There should be consequences. Laws are laws. You break the law, you should be held to account. Now, the approach around adjudication, many different approaches in terms of how we actually can address the issues long term, and whether we have diversion programs where we deal with the underlying issues, behavioral health issues, deal with other underlying issues, poverty and all of those issues. Big part of our violence intervention program, this VIP program, where we put $200 million for grants and evidence-based solutions in that space. And so we're committed to that. As it relates, though, to the prosecution, we want to support the DAs. We want to support the investigators. We want to support police and community leaders, retailers and others that are fed up with the lack of consequences. You break a window, you smash and grab, you take other people's property. That's wrong, period, full stop. Period. There's no justification for that in any way, shape, or form. Now, what we are experiencing at scale has nothing to do with felony thresholds. They blow through that in the first few seconds of these activities. I mean, this is millions and millions of dollars, organized rings. You can see the photographs behind me. I mean, this has nothing to do. These laws we put on the books are sideshows to what's happening in an organized way. And the rules are the rules, the laws are the laws, and we just want people to be held to account. We want to help with the enforcement and help with the investigation. But again, you can't condone these activities. We never have, I never will. At the same time, you can do that and reform your system, reduce recidivism, improve your reentry programs, address these underlying issues in real time. And I'm committed to that and resolved to that. I'm just sick and tired of this either-or debate, which I think is rather lazy and unfortunate. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to try to drive to improve public safety. And a lot of these reforms have actually enhanced public safety, and the data bears that out. Right now, we have an issue that needs to be addressed more forcefully, and the state needs to help support local law enforcement and local leaders in this endeavor.
Well, one quick follow-up. Local law enforcement repeatedly say that one of the problems or challenges is the zero bail policy, where people are arrested and then they just walk out. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, Bobby Kennedy, in 1968, as the Attorney General of the United States, eliminated bail for federal crimes. There's a lot of debate around bail. It was referendized here in the state of California, so it's not in effect. There was a legislative process, you know well, that advanced some bail reform. The Judicial Council of the state of California, independent Judicial Council, moved forward during the pandemic because of the circumstances around the pandemic. But bail reform, I think, is important. But again, I think we're too quick to judge this or that reform as somehow the reason we're experiencing what we're experiencing today. I would express that with some learnedness, and I hope it will be considered accordingly, and that is when you look back to 2000, 39 states have increased, for example, this is aside from the bail issue, they've increased their felony thresholds. As I noted, if you include, I think, Vermont, and check me on that, that's at $900. We have a $950 felony threshold for retail theft. That's in line with 31 other states. And so it's about average. And so once we established that in 2014, we saw property crimes decline in 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We came into the pandemic with some of the lowest crime rates in California's recorded history. Property crime, arguably, in its history, going back to 1960s. Is that the reason? Was it those laws that are responsible for that decline? If those laws are now responsible for the increase, were they not responsible for the decline? These are debates that are important, but they're not why we're here. I think that is a sideshow to the issue that presents itself today, which is the imperative of getting on top of these organized retail theft rings and these organized efforts that have created tremendous fear and anxiety to many Californians. We can discuss the impacts across the spectrum of why you're more likely to be a victim of property and violent crime in Texas than California, why counties that have conservative DAs, conservative sheriffs, elected sheriffs, conservative leadership have higher murder rates than other counties in the state. We can adjudicate all that at a later time and look at the why, the underlying reason you're seeing these activities across this country. But right now, we want to get on top of them, address them head on, and we'll have ample time to discuss the merits of these broader policy reforms, including bail reform. But right now, let's hold these folks to account and address this issue head on.
Thank you.
Governor Newsom, Azul Dahlstrom-Ekman from KQED again. Just one more question about the proposed law that models after SB 8. Who would be allowed to sue and who would be able to sue? I know this law is still being written, but do you have any ideas on that? And if Attorney General Bonta wants to comment, that'd be great too.
Yeah, if he wants, I'll ask him up. Private right of action along the lines of those that are well established, apparently now, not apparently, but seemingly established in Texas as it relates to their abortion law. So individuals, including yourself, would have that right on the basis of the law that was passed in Texas and the law that we hope to pass here for gun safety in California.
And thank you, Rob Bonta, California Attorney General. The proposal that's being developed with the legislature, the governor, and the Department of Justice is modeled after SB 8 in Texas. So it's the same model as who is allowed to sue there. It's generally private individuals. Individuals in Texas for SB 8, it'll be individuals in California here who could provide a force multiplier to support our common sense gun safety laws to make more people safe and save more lives. So it's the same model as SB 8. It's everyday folks in the state of California.
Good morning, Governor. Matt Bigler, also KCBS.
By the way, you guys, I'm literally an ice cube right now. Forgive me. I can't even think today. So anyway, so.
I've been told to say this is the last question.
Good.
So we
I'm
can all
with
go
you,
home
man.
after this.
Unless I'm going to borrow your jacket, if you guys want to keep going. Forgive me.
The smash and grab mobs don't make any money off their crimes unless they can resell what
Correct.
they've stolen. So my question is the state doing anything new to crack down on the resale of stolen merchandise?
No, that's exactly what the announcement is here today. It's about the investigation units. It's about the secondary market. It's about going online where these things are being fenced. It's about addressing exactly that. And that's the thrust of the announcement we're making here today with the district attorneys, the vertical prosecution, with the AG's office and the establishment of this new team, with the work we're doing to support these grants and enhancements for enforcement at the local level with local law enforcement. Exactly the point you're making. We've got to deal comprehensively with this. That's why the Office of Emergency Services here. We have fusion centers. That's an intelligence gathering center that exists in many different parts of the state that monitors activity on the web and then creates a framework for strategies to not only determine culpability, responsibility, but patterns that is shared and information that's shared in real time with local law enforcement. So data collection, real-time information sharing, activity that will address precisely the point you made around secondary markets and fencing operations. With that, we're grateful again for your patience and thankful to all the remarkable leaders here assembled. And we're very grateful to law enforcement for all their hard work. And I'm grateful for the privilege of being able to present this package to the legislature in January. Thank you.